Thank you for being here with me today and for spending your time with me and pressing play and just all of your thoughts and comments and everything. Some topics I don't know how to start. I'm good whenever I get going with it, but I don't always know how to begin them. We we're in a world today where there is a spiritual battle going on. And I think that most people who follow Jesus and who are in their scriptures and who can see and understand and recognize the signs of the times, like we know where we are in this final battle, and it's 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 a big one. It's a big one. I want to talk today about the spirit of anxiety and the battle that we have with anxiety, because you could see it in this world today. There's a lot of anxiety. Over the past couple days, I've had it within my own body, and I think that it has a lot to do with our social media. Like if you share on social media, if you listen, if you watch, if you are plugged into this technological world, which you are because you're watching me right now, being plugged into this world, there is a lot going on. And on all sides, on just everybody. I mean, our algorithms are created to feed us a certain way. When you open up your technology, when you open up your technological world, you're fed things different than what I'm fed. And depending on what we click on, we're fed more of that. And so, and and at the same time, whenever big events happen in this world, we're fed a lot of stuff. With what happened last week. So today is September 15th. So we're just recently in the wake of Charlie Kirk being killed. Every time I open up my phone to any app, it's all about him. And it's a lot of very strong opinions. It's a lot of like his I see all sorts of his stuff that little reels and just and things, and there's a lot of combativeness, there's a lot of contention, there's a lot of that kind of stuff. Now I also see a lot of people turning to Jesus, a lot of people being a lot more vocal about Jesus, a lot of people turning to the Bible. Um, there's that as well. There's just a lot happening. I notice for myself that as I watch a lot of things, and I've been trying not to spend a whole lot of time. I've been really reading about Bernadette. I have a 500-page book about Bernadette that I've been reading. That, and also the Catechism of the Catholic Church, because I want to read and understand, and I'm almost to the Godhead, so that'll be really interesting. Um, and 7 Days with Mary. I just completed that yesterday, and that was really awesome. and I've been in my scriptures, and so I'm not immersed in it. And at the same time, when I do open it, it's like this, just so much. And what I notice is happening within my own body is a lot of anxiety. Like, just this feeling within my body of like a shortness. Anxiety for me, it's in my chest and it's in my throat. It's like this whole area, like just um very much in my throat. Before I even started recording, I was sitting here just in meditation and in just breathing in, because I've had this anxiety within me, and I've just been praying and just doing all this stuff to get rid of it. And it felt as though like there were hands around my throat just trying to squeeze it tight, because there is a battle around us that we cannot see, but we can feel it. We can experience it in our bodies and in our minds, and we can experience it with the people around us in the conversations that we have. We can see, we can we can hear. And the last video I shared was, I kept repeating that God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and a sound mind. So anything other than that is not from him. So the spirits of so anxiety is not from the Holy Spirit. Depression is not from the Holy Spirit. All of these different mental, body, emotional things that are not of the spirit, then we know it's of a different kind of spirit that is trying to keep us heavy and tied to this world, keeping us down in it instead of rising up to be with Christ. The world's way of trying to deal with these things is, that we have a mental illness, that we need to be medicated, that, that something is wrong with us. I've experienced this my whole life. So whenever I was about 20, well, no, it started before then. When I was like around 22, my husband went to Korea for a year, and I was separated from my husband. Like, we had only been married for 2 years, and it it affected me. Like, I didn't know, I did not have the tools that I have today to be able to process and to be able to live through that time. And I was given some Xanax, and Xanax worked. I was good. It it was fine. And then I was given, for the first time, some marijuana, and I was really good after that, because that will just, you know, I mean, if you know, you know. And then I started to drink a little bit. And so all these things, like, I didn't have to deal with the pain. I didn't have to deal with the sadness. I mean, it was still there. It was still under there, but I was numbing it away. And so fast forward, So my husband did come home and I stopped all that because I wanted to have a baby. And so I wanted to, not do those things anymore to my body. And so I had a baby, and then I had two children, and it was very hard. Being a mom of little children is very challenging because they take all of our time, all of our energy. We're tired, we're exhausted, and we're having to maintain homes and husbands and jobs sometimes. So many women also work, and so they're juggling all of this at one time, and it can be just a lot. And it can create it can it can create that anxiousness, that anxiety, like I can never do enough, I can never be enough, I can't get ahead. There's so much like expectation going on in our heads. It's so much in the mind. It's all so much in the mind. It's these voices that are telling us so many different things, and we're believing it, and we believe those things about ourselves. And we don't want to have all of that. And so I went to a doctor, and just a family doctor, and he prescribed me Xanax. And I was like, oh, all right, yeah, this works because I've tried it before. The time before, it was just given to me. Like, it wasn't my own prescription. Somebody had just given it to me. And so this time, though, it came from a doctor. And I was like, well, doctors know what they're doing. They know. And so I started taking Xanax at that time. And it works. I don't care that my kids are jumping up and down on the bed. I don't care that, it's like, okay, life is, yeah, and Xanax, the thing about it is it's a mind eraser. So you don't hold on to memories. There's so much about Xanax that it just clouds our minds. It affects our bodies. It does so much to us, and we're not dealing truly with the stuff that's within us that we need to deal with. And but yeah, it helps with anxiety because it numbs us out from life. And so, but I did not understand that at the time. Today I understand. Um, so I've experienced, I've experienced, I'm now 51 years old, so I have experienced a lifetime of a lot of anxiety, of this feeling of never being able to measure up, and um, the really distorted thoughts of like perfectionism. And whenever you have a perfectionistic way of being and thinking within your mind, you're going to experience anxiety. You just are, because you can never measure up. You can never reach that. And it makes you feel anxious because you're constantly trying to grab onto it and you never can. And so it affects our bodies. It does. And so I have battled that. And there are these ways of thinking. There are these ways of that we're taught that we have to be in this world, and it comes from society. So much comes from society of measuring up, being, as good as everyone else around us. Just so much stuff. It can come from our religions of, just never feeling like we're ever going to be good enough, never feeling worthy enough, um, feeling the guilt and the shame of things that we do or things that are done to us. There's so much that is in this world that is not power. You know, those things want to take away our power. It's not love. because the voices and the things, it's all about hating ourselves and about not being good enough with who we are and our authenticity and exactly how God has made us to be. So there's not that love, we hate ourselves. And then there's power, love, and a sound mind. I mean, the sound mind, this world wants to feed us so much that clouds our mind, that clouds our judgment, that numbs us out, that keeps us sick, truly. You know, so I've come to understand and I've come to learn, I can remember one day, so I had been on medication all throughout my life, and I struggle with medication because I don't like the way that it makes me feel within my body. And I recognize that, like, antidepressants, I've been on antidepressants, I've been on mood stabilizers, I've been on benzos, I've been on um, ADD, on stimulants. I've been on all the things, that doctors will prescribe a person. The sleeping medicines, I mean, just all of it. And so I understand what it does to the body and how it affects us. So I can remember, and I've struggled with it. I've had a battle with it because, on one hand, it has worked for me. Whenever I've been in these deep, deep, deep depressions where I cannot even get out of bed because there is this, and I get it today. Like, I totally know what it was and why I was like that, is because when a child is sexually molested, sexually abused, and experiences that within their body, something happens, and it affects so much in your life. There's the shame, there's the guilt, there's the pain, the hurt, the never good enough, the people pleasing. There's just so much that is wrapped up in that, and many other types of abuse, whether it's, physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual, spiritual. There's these things that we experience as children, and it just wraps around us, and it just distorts our thinking. It distorts the way that we are in this world, and it just affects us, and it's painful and it hurts, and of course we want to numb it. Of course we don't want to feel it. Of course, like, there's just so many reasons why we do the things that we do. But I can remember, I I was trying to get off of the medications again, and I was I walked into my kitchen, and whenever you have a mind that just, there's so many things to do, and it feels like everything is so important. And, like, I don't know if you've ever experienced that anxiety and the racing thoughts, like, just so many thoughts coming in all at once, and it's just so many voices, and it's just too much. And so, and usually people at that point will be like, I need a Xanax, or, I need my benzo to stop this. So I was coming to learn and understand and to practice something different than grabbing for a pill. I was like, okay, I was recognizing that I was getting very overwhelmed and very overstimulated by things. Like, I had, and it's just simple things, but when you're in that state, it can be too much. So I had two teenage kids. I had my husband, who's air traffic controller, coming in and out, and his hours were crazy. Um, I had, I'm sure, calling in church that I was, responsible for things. And then I look around and I'm like, I need to cook dinner for all these people. The laundry has piled up again. There are dishes in the sink and clean ones in the dishwasher. My floors are disgusting. I've got piles of stuff all around me, and it just became so I was overwhelmed. I was in those one of those moments that it was just like it was too much, and I just wanted to go crawl in my bed and get under the covers so that it would just all go away. And at that moment, as my body was feeling so overwhelmed and anxious, and all these thoughts were coming into my mind, I was like, okay. I just stood there and I breathed. I connected with my breath. I don't know if I'd been reading about this or I don't know what was going on, but I can just remember just standing there and breathing and getting calm within my body and thinking to myself, okay, I can't do everything right now. What is the most important thing that I can do right now? And everything kind of melted away. And it was just like, okay, and I can't remember what it was that I did. I mean, it was probably, I always go back to the basics. I go back to the simple things. Have I taken care of my body? Do I need to drink some water? Have I eaten anything? Do I need to eat something? Because if I haven't done those two things and taken care of myself in those ways, then everything else, so it really comes down to really basic things whenever we are in those states of overwhelm and anxiety and not knowing what to do next. It's okay, let me take care of myself. Let me do the basic things. You know, if you have a house that is a disaster, start with your kitchen sink. I learned that a long time ago. Just start with your kitchen sink and then it'll spread from there. Um, and so that showed me that I don't have to turn to a pill. I don't have to turn to some kind of outer source to change what's happening within me. Like, I can breathe. I can breathe in that the breath of God, and I can calm my nervous system, because what happens is our nervous systems start freaking out on us and we want to like make it go away. And so we do the things that make it go away. We smoke weed and it will relax us. We take a drink and it relaxes us. We take a pill and it relaxes us. But okay, it might relax us momentarily, but all that's going to come back because it is within us. And so it's practicing stillness and being in the spirit. And so now I know these things. I have practiced these things. I live these things in my daily life. So I know the tools. And yet I open up my social media and I'm sucked into the anxiety of this world, to the anxiety that is around me, to other people. And once again, it pulls me in. And I'm like, okay, I have something going on within me that has not left, that continues to appear at certain times. And I'm like, it's got to go. God has not given me a spirit of fear. And anxiety is all wrapped up in the fear. It makes our bodies, it's like there's this feeling of like I need to control things, or I need to make the people around me a certain way, control them. It all comes down to a control thing. And that is once again one of Satan's tools, is to control. Um and I don't want to be I don't want to be like him. So this morning, I'm sitting here just once again that anxiety has come up into my chest and into my throat, and I'm like, what is happening? And I mean, I know what is happening. I don't have to question that. I'm aware. I know that there is a spiritual battle going on for us to to pull us out of peace. You know, I feel I'm so grateful. I am so grateful. I mean, I want to cry. I am so grateful that I've been so blessed to have dreamed a dream of being in the arms of Jesus Christ, and just the peace and the calmness. Like, he's just a calmness. It's like a calm water. Just this, I mean, I can just feel it whenever I speak about it and whenever I share about it. And I sit here. I've been sitting here this morning just remembering and thinking about it. And I mean, I'm so grateful that I was given that dream, because I I have aphantasia. And if you've never heard of aphantasia, that's crazy. I never knew it until like this year that it was even a thing and that I have it. And it's only like 3% of the population have this. And so I got it. It's where you cannot visualize things in your mind. So, like, if I were to tell you to visualize, a beach, you could close your eyes and you could see a beach. I close my eyes and it's black. I can't visualize things. And so, and so that is a thing. And so, for someone to tell me to imagine being in the arms of Jesus, or imagine, this or that, like, I could think about it and I can think about how that would feel, but I can't visualize. And so, but I can dream. I do dream. I can see dreams. And so I'm just so grateful that God gave me that experience, that I was able to see that with him. Because once I have it and it's in my memory, I can think back to the memory of it. I can't see it when I close my eyes, but I can remember the memory of it and the feeling of it. And it imprinted upon me, like upon my soul, upon my cells, upon my body. And so whenever I think about that, about him and just being in his arms, there is such a feeling of peace and a calm that comes over my whole body. And so this morning, as I'm sitting here thinking about it and breathing in and all of the things, and I'm like, okay, why is there still this feeling? Like, what is going on? Why? I'm praying, I'm asking for it to leave, and then before I even press record, I feel like I've got hands around my throat, choking me practically, and just like not wanting me to speak. And, there's just all these things. And because there is a battle, because there is a spiritual warfare going on around us. And in the scriptures, it talks about how there was a guy who had been possessed, and the apostles, his apostles were trying to, cast these evil spirits out of this guy, and they just were not able to. And Jesus said that some spirits cannot leave except through fasting and prayer. And, I have fasted and I have prayed a lot of my life. And I know the strength, I know the power that is within fasting, that fasting can show us things about ourselves that we never knew. It can bring up stuff that is deep within us, that is not of God, that is truly of spirits of this world, that, or evil spirits, that, I don't know how it all works. I don't know, I have not given that understanding. I've read a lot, I've listened to a lot, and I mean, it was a very common thing back in the days of Jesus, and I imagine that is very common today, that we can have evil spirits within us and that we don't even know it, or they can be attached to us and just hanging out with us and, just in our ears and around us and just causing all of these things. And I do not want that. You know, I don't want to have those types of influences around me, within me. And I know that Jesus Christ is power and is love, and he gives us that sound mind, and that those things can be cast away, that those things can be, separated. We can be separated from them. I think a lot of times I have read this, and it is something that I have come to like kind of feel that it is true because I've experienced it in my own life, is that, whenever we as children experience really traumatic things, that it's almost as though like we these spirits, like they attach to us, and they're there telling us constantly all these things within us, and we grow up with that, you know and it's through the power of Jesus Christ. It is through him. And like I said many times, these things, they do not leave except through fasting and through prayer. And I'm so grateful to know that today, to have an understanding of that today, and to have experienced it in my own life. And um I'm really grateful for that knowledge, and I realize that is definitely something that can help us, that can help me. And prayer is so, like, prayer is powerful. There's something about prayer that is so powerful. And I'm so grateful for so many of you out there who have shared with me that you are praying for me. I'm very grateful for that. And I ask for your continued prayers at this time, because I recognize there is a huge spiritual battle happening right now in my life, around me, within me, a lot of, but our God is so much mightier and so much more powerful, and he has not given us the spirit of fear. So I do not fear. I have no fear of everything. I have no fear of the anxiety that continues to, like, come up, because it's trying to come up, and it's got to get out. Um, I understand it today, and I get it. And this world is filled with it right now. And, it could be that I am an empathic person, and I do feel, I have in my life taken on other people's anxiety and fears and worries, and I that is definitely something. And so it's also coming to understand how to separate myself from that, how to disconnect from other people, how to disconnect from the world, and from all of that. Because I am very sensitive to all of that. And so it could also be that as well, that I'm sensitive to what is happening in this world. And there's just a lot of anxiety happening in this world, a lot of fear, just a lot of that kind of stuff. Um, Jesus Christ is the answer. I mean, he just is. And I know that. I know that today, that in my life of everything that is in my life, like coping with life, turning to him brings peace. Breathing him in and out calms my nervous system. He shows me and he tells me, like the thought about fasting and prayer. It's like, okay, it's just amazing as we sit with him and we turn to him, and he tells us what we need to do for our lives. You know, we can go to people who are knowledgeable, who have degrees, who have gone through the educational system in our world and have learned certain things. We can turn to them and they will give us solutions and they will give us answers of this world. But when we turn to Jesus Christ, he gives us the answers for our soul and what is best for us. And sometimes it can be very surprising. Sometimes, I'm reading in Exodus right now. I've just started Exodus, and God's ways are just not man's ways. I think that so many times we forget that God does things different than we do. And like, I mean, yeah, it was different. It was before like the law of Moses was given. And so they were not like under the law. So it was just way different. But, God tells the his people, Hebrews, to, did I say that right? He tells his people to spoil the Egyptians, to take their gold and their silver and place it upon your children, and to spoil the Egyptians. And it's like, okay, well, it's just, that's weird. And so many things that I've read. It's like, okay, Abraham did that, and Isaac was commanded to do that, and Jacob was told to do that, and then they did all these things, and that just does not go with like the world that we live in today and the understanding that we have and the laws that we have and Jesus. But God was dealing with his people at that time, and God is going to be dealing with us people at this time in this world, and it's crazy, and we've got to get out of these boxes that we've all been in and realize that God is way more miraculous, and we can't limit him. And when we turn to him and we listen to him and we follow him, he may have us do things that everyone around us will think is crazy. And it's so okay. Because when we're with him and we're in his spirit and we're following him and we are asking for discernment and we're living in the spirit, not that we're perfect. I'm not perfect. None of us are perfect. But as we're doing the things to be close to the spirit, like, we can just rest in the assurance that we are following him. And if we go to do something, he'll block. He loves us. He's gonna protect us. He's going to help us in our lives. He is. If he is our light, we're facing him, he's going to help us to stay on the path. And when we mess up, that's when he's like, okay, that's why I gave you my son. That's why he's here with you, to help you, to just turn to him, continue to turn to him, keep moving forward, keep stumbling forward, keep falling and getting up and moving forward. He is the calm in the storms. He is the peace. And all we have to do is just sit with him, hear him, listen to him, and he's going to show us the way, what is going to help to cleanse us, purify us, remove these spirits that may be around us, within us, all of that. Like, there's so much that we don't know and we don't understand, but we can read in the scriptures and it happened and it's true. And you know, we are surrounded by angels, and we can call upon angels, and there's just so much that we have on our side, you know, that he's going to help us. I'm so grateful for that, and to know that, and to feel that, and just all of it. So if you are feeling that anxiety within you, you know, that you're feeling from this world or from people around you, you know, it's turning to him. It's doing the things that he has told us to do to rid ourselves of these things. If you know, if going to church and sitting with him and all those things, if it's not removing it, then maybe we do need to fast and to pray and to be in that fasting and that prayer to to rid it from us. Fasting is a huge thing, especially whenever a lot of people fast together. There's so much power in that. So much power. Because we're surrendering, we're saying your way is greater than our way. I love that. So we need not fear. I'm so grateful for that. Okay, I think that is all today. Thank you for being here with me. Until next time.